Right, hello there. Oh, I've done it again. I've got everything else prepared. I forgot to do my chair. My name's Dan. I like talking about Warhammer. A bit of a Warhammer veteran. Anyway, right. So we're going to be doing some stats. I finally figured out how to. I'm an idiot. You need to click on the app button, and that takes you to where all the tournaments are. So apologies for missing this data. I'm going to have to go through it and add all the tournaments that have taken place on New Recruit. So it's different. It's quite cool because it allows you to export all this data as a CSV. You've then got to manually enter all the factions. Whereas if we look at Best Coast pairings, I can use ChatGPT to turn that into a table, but then I've got to manually enter the win, draw, loss columns. Now, if anybody knows anybody at these companies, please, for goodness sakes, let us just export the event results as like a table with as much data in as possible. I can always delete columns I don't want, right? But the more data I can extract more easily, the better, really, for basically everybody who wants to look at the stats and do a bit of statistical analysis. Anyhow, we've got some tournaments. So we've got two this weekend, and I'm going to go through one 5-game tournament that I've looked at on New Recruit. Best Coast pairings. We've got Lincoln Old World Turnering, which was in Sweden. It was somewhere here, which looks a bit bleak, to be honest. Maybe that was taken like mid-February, this particular picture. But it's somewhere here. It's nice. There's a lot of menorah in the windows. Maybe it's the Jewish quarter? I don't know. Those little... I know they're sort of Christmas light things, so you'd see them everywhere, but they're sort of... Anyway, it's not really a Christmas thing. But anyway, so we've got... So this list is the one that's the broken list. As far as having played against it, it's pretty nasty. He got 20-20-20, which means he tabled every single opponent he came up against. That's unusual, especially for vampire counts, because vampire counts aren't having a good time of it as it stands. Anders Alberg took a Tomb King list. You're not going to be surprised by that. And then we've got Tobias Hallberg, who's coming third with this Bretonnian list. Again, there's not a lot surprising in here. Falconhorn, we're seeing taken, pardon me, a lot more frequently now, because it is, like I said, one of the better. The ability to just turn off opponents flying like every single turn is great. Battle Standard Bearer. It's not the Battle Standard Bearer. Battle Standard Bearer is here. So I'm presuming these two are near each other so you can reroll his leadership tests. Level 4 prophetess. Pretty standard set of characters, apart from maybe an additional baron. Men-at-arms, peasants, knights of the realm. 2 units of peg knights, Pegasus knights, some mounted yeomen, and a couple of trebuchets. Trebuchets, I'd love to see how they got on, whether they were worth the points. Generally speaking, we're finding war machines are not, unless you take loads of them. He's got the Tomb King on the Bone Dragon with the Armour of Ages, which is reroll successful wound rolls against it. So toughness 6 rerolling wounds. That's an absolute nightmare to get through in combat. So you can still shoot it with cannons and things. Then he's got a couple of wizards to do a lot of resurrecting. He's got some Tomb Guard. He's got some warriors, stuff to be resurrected. A couple of Tomb Scorpions. Ushabti with great bows. These are wonderful units. And then he's got a Necrosphinx and a Casket. So a pretty standard successful tournament. Tomb King list is emerging, and it looks a bit like this. You've got a dragon, you've got some wizards, you've got some stuff for the wizards to resurrect. And then you got some Tomb Scorpions and a Shabti with bows, and probably a Necrosphinx, although I'm resisting getting one for mine. But this is the getting towards a standard tournament list for Tomb Kings. And then this is the Brogan list. So he's got a level 4 wizard who's the general, who's on foot, because the reason it's on foot is so you can't target it with shooting. So it's going to hide behind the units. You've then got a couple of Banshees and a couple of Mortis engines. The wizard is less important than the fact that it's a Mortis engine. You've got 3 Necromancy, because what Peter is... This is a great list, by the way. So Peter, well done, top marks for list writing. So what he's hoping for is the leadership debuff spells, because there's the area of effect, it's the mortar template, everything within 8 inches of that is -1 leadership, which is, it's a huge area actually, because you've got your 5 inches and then another 8 I think on top. So it's basically like a 26-inch bubble that just goes on the table, and it's difficult terrain, so you can use it to get in the way of dangerous terrain or something. So you can use it to get in the way of your opponent's movement, so you can start to control the tabletop and start to sort of funnel where your opponent can go. And then he's got 2 Terrorgeists. So essentially, with all of these spells, you should be able to get a unit essentially. So he's got 6 screams. So you get like so the scream effect. How that works is you roll 2 dice. You subtract your opponent's leadership, which already has a -2 modifier applied to it, because that's the wailing dirge rule. And then the difference is the amount of wounds you suffer. You can take ward saves, but they're the only saves. So, your average unit is like leadership 8. If you've cast the spell of -2 leadership and can't use Inspiring Presence, you're essentially, it's 2d6 -4 because you're 8. You take 2 off because of the wailing dirge ability, 2 off because of the spell. You could take 1 off because of like the template. I think you can stack the spells, but anyway, like you're at least -5 to your leadership, right? I think there's another leadership debuff thing as well, but it's just horrible. So with your like leadership 8 unit, it's like you're rolling 2d6 -3 amount of wounds. So that's on average, like if you're rolling 2d6, you should on average roll a 7. So that's like 4 per scream. So between 6 screams, that's 24 wounds, no saves, a turn. It's just absolutely horrendous. There's not a lot that you can do about it. And there's a couple of Terrorgeists, and they're not terrible in combat either. They're okay. They can't take out big units or anything that's meaty, but they're pretty good at taking out other things. And like so 24 wounds, right? Even your high elf dragon is dead, because you can only use your 5-up ward on it that you get. Doesn't have a strength characteristic, so stuff that relies on strength to get better wards doesn't matter. So it's just an absolutely horrendous ability. I really don't know what you can really do about it. It's I played against a very similar list to this, and like I had a unit of 20 chosen, and they died pretty much in one turn. It's just absolutely outlandishly horrendous. Anyway, then he's got some direwolves, some skeletons, and some zombies, a couple of units of zombies. And the other thing is, like, because he's got this couple of units of zombies here, these 2 acolytes can be essentially, and the master necromancer can be boosting their numbers from the get-go. The reason he's gone for 20 is because zombies have a maximum unit size of 40. So how most TOs seem to be ruling the increase the number is you can't increase the number of zombies above their maximum unit size. So if you start off with 20 over the course of the game, you could conceivably turn these both into units of 40 zombies just by essentially rezzing them and sitting back and just letting the opponent come to you. He's also got a corpse cart, which is another necromancy spell. This is list writing of the highest ability. And I'm just going to quickly... I forgot to check what a warped tintinnabulation... Tintinnabulation? Yes. Warped tintinnabulation is. Let's discover together. A warped Idiot. A warped tintinnabulation is a thing that... Is it... What? Oh, it's on the thing, isn't it? It's the corpse cart thing. That's the... Oh, is that the +1 to cast thing? Where the bloody hell is corpse cart? Corpse cart, Coven Throne, Mortis Engine, corpse cart. Here we go. Warped tintinnabulation. Oh my god. Oh. Friendly units within 15 reduce the number of wounds lost due to unstable by 1. And whenever they're resurrected with the invocation of the heck, on a 4-up, the unit recovers 1 additional wound. So you got 3 of them, and that like brings more zombie. Oh, it's just horrendous, isn't it? It's just horrendous. This whole list is a problem. Like I really don't know how you can deal with it, and that's the problem. Because you can't shut down the scream ability because it can be used while the unit's in combat on units that are in combat. It's just, and I'll just show you the rule just in case you think that this is just nuts and I've misread it, but it's not. This is wailing dirge here. So during the shooting, unless it marched, all right, a model with a special wailing dirge targets any enemy unit that's within 8 inches, including units that are engaged in combat and that this unit can draw line of sight to, or that this model is engaged in combat with. Right? I mean, this also means Terrorgeists, whilst they're in combat with another unit, can use wailing dirge on another unit behind it, because it's a large target, a Terrorgeist, so it can see over a unit that it's in combat with. So it can just target a character that's behind the unit of... It's just nuts. The target must make a leadership test with a -2 modifier. Suffers a number of wounds with no armor or regen save ward saves. Note that a wailing dirge can target an enemy character regardless of the usual rules for targeting lone characters. So, like, it's just absolutely horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. So 3 people at this who, so commiserations to Rickard, Bjorn and Alexander for having to face this absolute nightmare, and congratulations to Peter for finding the old world cheat code. Which is this army, by the way. It's pretty bad. It'd be interesting to see what happens in a mirror match, actually, to see who... I genuinely don't know what you can do about it, other than trying to stay out of range and just chipping bits off. Maybe Wood Elves would be okay. I don't know. Maybe if you had lots of artillery, you could take down the Mortis engines, because these are large targets too. So if you took down both of the Mortis engines, that would severely hamper the army's ability to do stuff. If you got rid of you'd need, I think, a lot of artillery really might be able to deal with this, but it's still pretty nasty. And the problem with like being able to resurrect everything in vampire counts, including characters, and like the number of wounds you get back. Sorry to harp on about this, but the number of wounds you get back from the invocation of the heck ability is just a bit too much, I think. Because, yeah, if the unit's troop type is regular infantry, number of equal to this character's level of wizardry plus D3. So if it does invocation of Nehek on... So a necromancer, an acolyte, doing invocation of Nehek on themselves get... It's actually level 2 plus D3. So, you know, characters, I think, should be down here as well. But anyway, so, I don't know. It's just, you can get so many wounds back. It's frankly disgusting. But, you know, whatever. So that's Lincoln Old World Turnering. good tournament. Seems took place in Sweden. Nobody lost all 3 games because Johan and Martin seemed to go home a little bit early. Maybe too much surströmming. This is the Empire list that didn't do very well, Eric's list. And it's, to be honest, is pretty obvious why. There's nothing that's amazingly good in it. He's got a big block of inner circle knights that aren't great. They've got a full plate, which is good, but they're just not very good in general. And he's put a lot into that. He's put a lot into that particular unit. He's only got a level 3 wizard, which is insane because Empire are wizard spam. They're primed for wizard spam. And then he's got a couple of veteran units of halberdiers, and were these just sword and board, which is okay, but they're just going to die and then run away. So you can put a captain in there, which is I think what he's done to try and make them a bit better, but still it's not good. Empire. I think the answer to Empire is demigriffs. Like, you pay your 500 point core tax with whatever, it doesn't really matter. Personally, I'd be in favour of MSU handgun units. Just to dot around and get in the way and just stop your opponent from being able to get like rolling charges going and all the rest, and just allow the artillery to work. And the artillery basically steam tank, or multiple hellblasters. Hellblasters are great. Demigriff knights are also pretty strong, I think. So yeah, it's just got all the stuff that isn't that good. I'm sure it looks amazing on the tabletop because I love a proper Empire army. Like, this is a proper Empire army, but it's just not very good in the current tournament meta, I'm afraid. Anyway, so Frog and Crow Dakar Rally, the world that was, took place in Hallam Street. Now, I just wanted to show you this. So this is, it says Hallam Street. This is a place called Element Games. It's a pretty cool store, gaming store, whatever. So the main sort of stock port is down there. So it's a long old walk. There's a Prem there. I've stayed there before and doing events. The car park for the venue is around the back here. It's a bit of a tip, is the car park. So there's Element Games. It's in there. Element Games is like, you've got to go upstairs. It's on the top floor there, and it goes sort of about halfway. But yeah, it's pretty big. It's a really nice venue. It's a really nice venue there. So if you ever get a chance to go down to Element Games, I'd seriously recommend it. Unless it's mega hot, because the aircon is a bit rubbish, in that there isn't any, and it's just a shed, basically. I don't know what's on the ground floor, but anyway, it's on the first floor, so you got to go up some stairs to get there. So, what have we got? We've got... it didn't press end on the event. So, again, this was another 3-game tournament. John Bridge won it with a... I think this was a fairly standard Warriors of Chaos list. In fact, we're starting to see quite a lot of standardisation in terms of like the successful lists, because we're starting to see what's doing well. And Ronnie Dodd came bottom with Demons of Chaos. Did anybody else come bottom or towards the bottom with some interesting results? Was it this one? No. Amelia Clark. Okay. So, I shouldn't have clapped next to the microphone. Apologies. So, this list came third. Now, Cursed Dwarves aren't doing great at the moment. So, it's an interesting list in the sense that it's just quite interesting. So, you've got a Sorcerer Prophet. This isn't the interesting bit. But then he's gone for a Hobgoblin Khan, which with Ruby Ring of Ruin. So... I think that, and a great weapon giant wolf, blah, blah, blah. We've then got some Hobgoblin Cutthroats for that to go in. So I think this is like 120 points delivery system for a Ruby Ring, pretty much, and a few extra short bow attacks. But Hobgoblin not cutthroats, sorry, wolf riders, there they are. So this is 170 points, but they've got feigned flight. He's also given them a reserve move. So as well as feigned flight, they've got fire and flee, they've got evasive or evade or whatever. So the hobgoblin wolf riders are, without a doubt, the best light cavalry in the game, hands down. Absolutely fantastic. If it were me, I'd take 2 units of wolf riders just because they are so good. But actually, looking at this, so this is my sort of theory craft Chaos Dwarf list had 2 of those, but actually this is way more sensible than 2 of these, because you can stick a Ruby Ring of Ruin on the Hobgoblin Khan, and he can, they've got move and shoot, which means they can march and shoot, which means it can go 18 inches up the table, and because the move and shoot rule is on the profile rather than a weapon profile, so it's actually on the model's profile, you can then use magic missiles whilst marching and shooting. Absolute genius. Well done, Ben. Absolutely genius. He's got an Iron Demon, obviously, because they're amazing. He's got some Fireborn. I'm not sure that they're that good, but okay. I mean, the models are just fantastic. Sorry, I've just got to sneeze. Apologies. Right. Then he's got some cutthroats, I think, just to sort of make up points. 450, 850. Is this a 1500 point tournament? I think this is a 1500 point tournament, isn't it? Idiot. Oh well. I think there's enough players that it adds up. So he's got a Bale Taurus. So then he's got some Infernal Guard. He's given them drilled and great weapons. Like, to be honest, I just get the sense that, like, a big block of blunderbusses is, line hammerish sort of blunderbusses is the answer, really, because you get to shoot regardless of whether something can charge you or not. And you've got other stuff that just gets in the way. And so, they don't have to... So it's D3, pardon me, shots per model. They're pretty high strength. They're pretty good. So I really like blunderbusses. But, he's obviously done quite well with this list. So it's quite interesting. My inclusion criteria was like 50,000 points, wasn't it? So like a 1,500 point with like 20 players. Doesn't quite get there, does it? But no, it's element games. Breaking my inclusion criteria. Maybe I need to change it. I've been thinking about that, really, because so far my inclusion criteria for an event being included in the stats is my inclusion criteria for in the stats was either was 10 players, points between 1750 and 2500, but I also came up with another criteria that if there's 50,000 points in total at the event, then I would consider that, and that was basically to let in the Warhammer World Tournament because it had lots of players and it was a 1,500 pointer. I know the next one's going to be 2,000, which is good. I would encourage tournament organisers to... 1750 is quite good if you've got the smaller mats, right? And it limits your choices, obviously, because it's 1750. So if you're going to go sub 2,000, 1750, 1,800, that's a good points limit. Actually, I sense that 2,500 might be where we end up playing tournaments at, because you get a bit more stuff, or you can upgrade stuff so it's a bit better, and also like the 0 to 1 per 1,000 points thing is actually a proper limitation when you get to 2,500. It's not really much of a limitation on most armies at 2,000 points, but anyway, that's another discussion for another day. So we've got Beastman Brayherd, again, it's Hagtree Fetish, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of MSU going on here. Just sort of stuff getting in the way, allowing the Minotaur and the Gorgon and the Bray Shaman with the Hagtree fetish to kind of ride around the table and just kill stuff. So that's what that does. And then we've got a Lord with Khorne. Ah, no, this isn't a standard list, is it? No, so we've got a Lord of Khorne on a demonic mount with an Ogre Blade, which is pretty nasty. And he's got to be the general because his leadership's 9 and the Sorcerer Lord, I think, is only 8. Or maybe it's 9 as well. And then we've got a Sorcerer Lord on a steed. Some Marauders with Khorne and Flails. Smart. Marauder Horse with Flails and Khorne. These, I think, are amazing. Some Chaos Ogres. They're not great, but, you know, whatever. And some Chosen Knights. These are fantastic, but you do need to spend a lot of points on them to make them good, which is... Chosen Knights and Chosen Warriors are just way better than Warriors and Knights. Just they're a step above, and they're not really that many points more. So, cool. So that's that one. And then this new recruit thing. So this was a tournament in Czechia a bit ago. I'm not quite sure how the tournament points were decided. I can't find like the tournament pack on here, I'm afraid. That does nothing. Right. Don't know what that means. I need to look at this a lot more. However, Jan Cherny managed to win by winning 3 games, whereas somebody got 5. So he got 5. Jan got 5 more points than Ladislav, who managed to win another game on him. So I'm really not sure how this. I think there must have been a lot of like tournament points, and not just winning games. So winning games is... So you get that sometimes with tournaments, in that you get points for like best sports, or like a sporting nomination, or for having like some stuff painted, or like having like a cohesive basing scheme, or there could have been stuff like secondaries. So it could have been, you know, you got to end the game with a unit in each quarter of the table and you get a bonus, whatever. So you get these secondary objectives as well as just points. Again, yes, secondary objectives are quite cool, but it doesn't help the data necessarily. So anyway, this is the Demons of Chaos list that won. Jan, well done, Jan. He's got a Khorne Tzeentch sort of thing going on. So he's got a Bloodthirster with a Blood Veil, many arms, and then he's got a Demon Prince of Tzeentch that's level 4. He's got Fly. Aetherblade is like that one is no armor saves against it. So the Demon Prince is pretty gnarly, as is the Bloodthirster, obviously. He's got 3 units of Furies to pay. Pardon me. To pay the core tax. He's also got a big unit of Pink Horrors who are very good, but he hasn't gone for the champion in the Pink Horror unit, which is a well, from the looks of things anyway, which is a bit surprising, because the champion you can give like 1 level of wizardry to, and there is one spell in particular that's basically built for the Pink Horrors. It's I'll show you it actually. This is why I really like Tzeentch. In fact, I really like the demons. I need to get mine rebased, to be honest. But there's one spell in particular. Where is it? So, Demons of Tzeentch have 2 signature spells. It's this one, because it's cast on an 8, so it's relatively easy to cast. It's D3 plus 3, strength 3 hits. So, you know, pink fire. So that one's really for your champion of your... Oh, what am I doing? I don't want to AI that. Yeah, and this one's alright, but it's short, right? Anyway, we're not reviewing demons. So that's Jan 1. Oh dear, have I broken it? No. James, I think this was an Errantry crusade. Yeah, so we've got an Errantry crusade list, which is quite cool. So we've got a Duke with, again, this one's a pretty standard sort of thing. Battle Standard Bearer's gone for the Rampaging Banner, which is, I think, the Frenzy Banner, isn't it? And it's just on a warhorse. And then he's got a Paladin on a Pegasus. What was interesting about... Yeah, he's got 2 Gauntlets of the Duel, and I'm not sure why you do that, because I thought it was just you can't refuse challenges. So I was going to check that beforehand. Gauntlet of the Duel. It's there we go. Challenges issued by the bearer cannot be refused. So why would you have 2? I don't understand that. I think that was possibly an error. Level 4 prophetess to be defensive. Again, though, like I mean, I know he's put Ruby Ring of Ruin, but you could put that on something else. Like I'd just go. Maybe didn't have the model, but I'd just go Elise. I think, you know, defensive magic, she's great. Because the main reason is because if she rolls a double on a dispel roll, it's auto dispelled, which is fantastic. So you got a 1 in 6 chance of auto dispelling. Well, not quite a 1 in 6, a 5 in 36, which is nearly a 1 in 6. Because obviously, if you're on a double one, you're outclassed in the art. But anyway, so he's got some errants. He's got lots of errants actually, which you have to have. It's 1 per 1,000 minimum in an Errantry crusade. And then he's got some Mounted Knights of the Realm with a Crusader's Vow, which basically gives them the veteran rule. Does it actually? Is that's I think I've said that. Pardon me, but I think that's wrong. Errantry Crusade, Crusader's Vow. No, yeah, it gives them veteran. Yeah, so that was right. So yeah, he's got some veteran Pegasus Knights. He's got some veteran Knights of the Realm. All looks pretty good. That's quite nice. He's only got 1 unit of Pegasus Knights. I think Pegasus Knights are like one of the best units in the game, so probably could have done better by having a few of those. But and then we've got Dwarves coming third, which is really, really breaking the trend, to be honest. Dwarves are, again, having a pretty tough time at the moment. They're okay at winning games. They're just not very good at placing in tournaments. Sorry. Got a frog in my throat. Right. He's just got he's got an engineer and a BSB Thane. He spent 151 points on characters. So he's got 3 crack missiles, which is basically what Trollhammer torpedoes are. He's got 2 gyro bombers, 3 gyrocopters with clatter guns, MSU longbeards, 3 cannons. They must have had a unit of rangers, quarrelers, and thunderers. Sorry. Man, I don't know what that is. This is really interesting. I'd love to see how this went on, because this is like full out maximized shooting list. Hardly any characters, because you only really need them to stop units breaking if something survived. Rangers are great. Yeah, this is really special. This is a really interesting list. I really like it. I'd love to have seen any of these games, actually, see how it got on. Because he's won his first 2, then he's lost 2, then he's won his last one. So he's essentially Marek will be on the top tables here, and then this one was round 3 match. Yeah, so he was on the top table. Match 1. I'm presuming the number here denotes what table it was. So I think this one was probably his hardest. And you're playing wood elves. So, to be honest, new recruits much better for navigating in terms of like looking at pairings and results and stuff. Right, so we've got some wood elves, got a glade captain. Yeah, I mean that looks like a pretty. It'd be. I so wish I could have watched that game. That would have been really, really interesting. Because he's got the Sisters of the Thorn, but like, yeah. MSU Glade Guard, Treeman, Spellsinger. Only a level 2 wizard though, no level 4 wizard. That's interesting. So yeah, where did Tobias Veska ended up in 5th overall, but winning 4 games, whereas this dwarf player lost 2. So there's something going on with the tournament scoring. Like this player, Ladislav, seems to have been the most successful in terms of winning games because they didn't lose a game. And they've got Tomb Kings with Mortuary Cult. So that's the one that's got lots of like Ushabti and although he hasn't really, has he? He's just gone for the 3 Necrosphinx. That's interesting. Oh yeah, you can because it's got more rare. Yeah, so that's why he's done it, because it's got a higher it's not 25%, it's like 33% rare. So you can, it's basically, it's a 3 Necrosphinx list sort of thing. Yeah, so he's got stuff that's going to pop up later. These have got the terrors below, so you don't have to roll for them. They just pop up in the middle of the table. You don't have to bring them on with the High Priest's ability. And then he's got a big block of possibly 8, maybe 9 Ushabti with great bows. They're great. And then he's got another 4 over here, so that's 12 Ushabti with great bows. I mean, they're going to do a lot of work. Yeah, this is a really nice list. I quite like it, actually. I'm not sure about the Necroserpents. I think they're a bit rubbish. But I suppose they've got, you know, they're okay in combat, and they've got swift stride, so they can you know, hopefully get first contact with the enemy. So yeah, apologies again. I've just got something stuck in my throat. Need to go have a cup of tea. Okay, so that's all the tournaments we're going to look at today. There weren't that many, to be honest, to look at. Quite a lot of them had quite a few, like a low player count. This one had 16 players, but it's been... Oh, hold on. Oh no, this one's actual results. Okay, I'll include them in the data. So let's try and update the spreadsheet as I go along. It's going to be interesting. So, Wizards Alley inaugural Old World tournament, which took place in Wichita. I said I'd try to be more organised, and I've missed a tournament, and I'm going to have to do this like on the fly, as it were. So that's best laid plans of mice and men. Hey, all right, let's load all that. Yeah, do that then now, please. Right, so we've got Tomb Kings winning. It's almost as though there's a pattern. We've got Bretonnia coming second, and we've got Empire. Oh, finally, Empire placing. That's coming 3rd and 4th, actually. So let's have a look at both of those and see if they're both quite different. So that was in Wichita, wasn't it? Which is in Kansas, presumably. I'm trying to record the states rather than the United States, so we can see like later on if there's like East Coast, West Coast sort of differentials. Apologies. Right, back to it. So we got all these. So that took place this weekend. I thought I saw it on the front screen, and then I saw like rescheduled, and I went, oh, that's been rescheduled. So it didn't, but obviously they meant it looks like there were 12 players and there's 2 here, so I'm just going to delete those 2. 2,000 points. Then hopefully ChatGPT has finished. Yep, there we go. Putting it in a table for me, which is nice. And then I'll just get rid of that. And then apologies. So this is basically what I have to do. I then have to manually enter the results in the spreadsheet, which is I know it's thrilling viewing, but there we are. So down to 6, we've got 201, and then we've got a 111, which is quite interesting, and then we've got 102 down to 102 down to and including 12. And 13 is an 012. Well, I'll put 010, I suppose, for these vampires. And I'll keep them in, actually, because they've obviously played a game and then, you know, gone home, having drawn. It's a bit weird. And Eric Rennie brings at the bottom. So that's all sorted. Right. So we've got Avaland. Okay, so these are the 2 Empire lists that did quite well. So this is interesting. So we've got an engineer, a Grandmaster, Demigriff, level 3 wizard, Ruby Ring, and a captain on a warhorse. So we've got 2 units of knights. Do you know what? Actually, I think that knights are, for their points, slightly better than Inner Circle. I mean, that opinion might change over time, because I thought that about Chaos Knights as well. I thought, you know, the points, they weren't necessarily worth it. But Empire Knights, maybe. Mainly because you can take them as core. But again, that was the same with Chaos Knights. You know, maybe there's something better. He's got some Demigriff Knights. He's got a couple of great cannons. He's got a steam tank and a Hellblaster. So this is the bit that I said, that I've been saying for a while now. This is the good bit of Empire. So he's got the good bit of Empire, and he's got a lot of Knights because they're quick. They've got Swift Stride. And then he's got some handgunners. Personally, I'd just flood this with MSU handgunners. And then the Grandmaster on the Demigriff, in the Demigriffs, spot on. Wizard Lord, again, make it level 4. You can do wizard spam like so cheaply with Empire. So cheaply. So, yeah. Then we've got this Empire list. Captain, General on foot with the Shroud of Iron. Hockland long rifles. Long rifles are great. A couple of engineers, wizard, lord, level 4. Well done, well done. So he's spammed MSU handguns a bit, and then some archers. I guess because they've got scouts. Maybe it's a 3-unit max on core. And then we've got some cannons, pistoliers, mortars, a couple of Hellblasters. Again, this is the good stuff. This is the good stuff in Empire. So this is what I said about maybe Empire not doing well, is because people haven't got the models that are good, or they haven't worked out what's good. But Matt and Fwong seem to be getting close to cracking Empire. So I don't think that Empire are bad. I just think that people haven't got the stuff that's good. So that's cool. That's interesting. It's nice to be right. Alex has got his Errantry Crusade list, which has got 2 wizards in, which is interesting. I mean, to be honest, I really like the... Where is it? I really like the spell that makes your unit better. And I think this is something that people, I don't think, have quite figured out yet. But this, +1 strength, and improve AP by 1... on a unit of knights makes them, you know, because then they're now strength 4, right? Strength 6 with lances, right? Rerolling 1s to charge, yeah? And I don't know why I'm doing that. And, you know, their lances are now AP 3. That's just amazingly good. It's a really, 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 really good spell. You know, and you know, or you can go for this one. Give yourself regen 6+ on a unit of knights. So, you know, these two, Lady's Wrath in particular, is fantastic. Nearly swore then, but it's absolutely brilliant. So, you know, I think a lot of people are they haven't quite cracked Bretonnia because it's all about putting girls in amongst the men, and the girls make the men better. So yeah, I was just going to check actually what laws they're allowed. Yeah, none of these are really buffing laws, are they? But illusion could be quite useful, especially if you get Plague of Rust, which is like one of the best spells in the game. It's brilliant. Right. So this I think is pretty good. We've got some battle pilgrims like them. I didn't when they first came out. I think my Bretonnia book review said these are crap. Don't buy them. I've totally U-turned on that. They're brilliant. As long as you can, yeah. He's got a unit of 5 Grail Knights, I think, maybe, which is quite big. In my sort of theoretical Bretonnia list, I've got 2 units of 3 because I think little bullets of Grail Knights makes more sense than a big unit. Because they're a bit more manoeuvrable, and you know, you're not really hurt by putting them in lance or not. So yeah. So we've got some Pegasus Knights. Again, I think they're one of the best units in the game. So I'd definitely take another unit of 3 Pegasus Knights instead of this useless block of... Although he's got the Grail Monk in, but you don't really need this if you've got the Battle Pilgrims, because they can, like, you know, they're unbreakable as long as you've got a Grail Knight nearby. So, yeah, I mean... yeah, I'd prefer the Pegasus Knights, to be honest. He's paid his Knights Errant tax. They're pretty good. And he's gone for turning the Knights of the Realm into veterans, which is, again, pretty sensible. So well done, Alex. Coming second in Wizards Alley. That's not list unsubmitted. Good. List unsubmitted. Excellent. So that's... Orcs and Goblins have just got a book out, so what's going on there? So we'll have a look at that in a second. In fact, we'll have a look at the Joel's. So he's gone wizard spam, which isn't a terrible idea. He's gone for 3, 2, 6 fanatics. This Doom Diver, Giant, Rock Lobber. This is a weird list. Like, I'm not sure how that works on the table. Because he's gone for MSU Night Goblins, but they'll just get shot and run away. Like, so if you took this up against Camry, for instance, the first thing you're going to do is lob a couple of screaming skulls over at the Night Goblins, aren't you? Because they're probably just going to run off the field, and then they never get to release their fanatics because there's only 10 of them. And they haven't got a musician, so they might not rally. So, and is there... Yeah, there's no Battle Standard Bearer either. So they're susceptible to fleeing. As is everything, really. So I think possibly everything just ran away, maybe? Yeah. I mean, I'd be in favour of just more Night Goblins, to be honest, and more Fanatics. So 3 Fanatics per unit, and then like a big brick of like 30 to 40 Night Goblins per unit. Maybe it's just that Joel's playing with whatever models he's got available, which is, fair enough. That's, we all do that. When a new edition comes out, you don't get to buy what you want. And even when a new edition comes out, like I found with my Camry, I don't get to buy what I want. But anyway, that's an interesting list. And this one won. Eugene, congratulations with your Camry list, which has 1 character. It's a High Priest on the Dragon. With the Serpent Staff, which gives their attacks poisoned, I think. He's got some Ushabti with Ritual Blades. Interesting. I don't think they're much cop, really. But... yeah, maybe be... Oh, this will be a mortuary cult list, won't it? Because the Ushabti become core in that. So he's got a big block of Ushabti, Necroserpents, some Tomb Swarms. I've not seen them taken at all, to be honest. So it'd be interesting to see how they went on. And then he's got... Whoa. So there's not a 3-unit maximum in this tournament then, is there? So he's gone for 5 Tomb Scorpions. That's strong. And a Necrosphinx as a special. Then he's got a Colossus and another Necrosphinx. So that's a... I don't know how I'd deal with that, to be honest. That's a very difficult list to deal with. There's just lots of big stuff, basically. And you've just got to chew your way through it as best you can. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's... Tomb Scorpion's got ambushes. I thought they had ambushes as standard, don't they? And then you have to pay extra for the terrors below, as far as I can recall. But yeah, okay, so that's that tournament. So yeah, so that's all of the tournaments I'm going to look at. Like I said, there weren't that many this weekend. So we've done Lincoln Oldwood Turnering. This one didn't have enough players. This one didn't have enough players. Not enough players. Not enough players. This one was okay. Wichita. And Frog and Crow, that one's the other one. So these are all the events that took place this weekend. New Recruit, it's really difficult to show the list like that. So finding tournaments is actually easier on Best Coast, but New Recruit, it's quite difficult to work out what's actually gone on. Cool. So that's that. Let's have a look at the data. Let's see where we're up to. Now I need to click update again because we've added that 5 games. So the first thing so I'll just explain how all of this works. We've got win percentage here, so that's how many games that these factions win. I've also worked out points, so I've added like a correction for draws, just to see if adding in draws makes any difference to the analysis over the win rate. This says no. If this figure ever gets below 5%, then it means that it does, but it doesn't. Then I've got rank, so essentially we're working out what percentile a player finished in. So like if they finished, like if there were 11 players and they finished 6th, then they'd have a percentile of 50% because they're bang on the middle. If that makes sense. So, you know, if you finished like a quarter way down from the top, you would get a 75th percent, that you finished in the 75th percentile, basically. So this basically just looks at how successful stuff is at tournaments. So some things like Beastmen are very successful. We're actually starting to see a decent amount of results for quite a lot of factions now. So this is really, really good. We've got, I think, enough results here. You need about 500 ideally in order to say that you've reduced your error term to like 5% or below. That doesn't mean these are wrong by plus or minus 5%. This is different. Don't worry about that. We've also got standard deviation here. So what this means is we can work out what a normal player is doing. So if we look at Chaos Dwarves, for instance, because it makes the maths easy, this plus or minus this is what a normal Chaos Dwarf player is doing at a tournament. So they're winning between 76% and 24% of their games. So if they're going to like, if you're going to like a 5-game tournament, a normal player would be winning somewhere between 2 to 3 games. You're just outside normal if you've won 4 or 5, and you're just outside normal if you've won only 1 or 2. So this basically tells you what a normal player is doing. Although 1 or 4 wins are quite normal, but not quite. Cool. So we've got some factions that are struggling and some factions that are not. These colours over here are essentially, I'm using a Z test to work out which results are significantly different to the rest. Now, what we're seeing here is quite a nice distribution of red, amber and green across the win percentages. So that suggests to me that actually the game is pretty nicely balanced at the moment. It suggests to me that, I mean, basically what you don't want is like 2 greens 2 reds and the rest amber, because what that would mean is that essentially there's a load of factions that are pretty normal. There are 2 that are absolute dog poop, and then there are 2 that are dogs testes. So so we don't want that. You want it to be pretty well balanced. So this is looking really healthy, actually, from an external balance perspective. There are a couple of slightly worrying things. So here we've got reliability as well. So you'll see these factions that have got like a red down arrow. These factions are unreliable in terms of their win percentage. So their standard deviation is higher than others. The green ones, it's lower, so these are reliable. So tournament placings, again, green, you tend to see these at the top of tournaments. Red, you tend to see them at the bottom of tournaments, and the amber, you tend to see them making up the midfield. So here we've got Chaos Dwarfs, and Dwarves are the other problem, funnily enough. It's the slow factions that seem to be problematic. Chaos Dwarves, because they've got a relatively decent win percentage. They're pretty reliable in terms of their results. Now, it's worth mentioning that these stats aren't at 500 yet, so these are pretty tentative in terms of conclusions. But we're starting to see a pattern of slowness being a problem. So Chaos Dwarves, tournament placing, so they're getting the results. They're pretty reliable, but they're not doing so well at tournaments. Same with Dwarves, like they're getting the results. They're pretty mid in terms of like win percentage. They're doing quite well with that, but they're not reliable. They're all over the place in terms of results, which is, you know, not good for Dwarves. Should be reliable, should be the most reliable. And tournament placings, they're like in the bottom in terms of where they finish in tournaments. So although they're winning a decent amount of games, they're doing badly in terms of where they finish up in tournaments. Whereas, like, conversely, High Elves aren't doing much better than Dwarves in terms of win percentage relative to everybody else. However, they are placing quite highly in tournaments. So what this means is that basically High Elves, when they win, they table the opponent or get close to that. Whereas Dwarves, when they win, they scrape a win. So they're not getting enough points, kill points, to go up, you know, in tournaments. They're just not doing the work. Dark Elves, somebody was asking me about that yesterday. Are they really bad? And it's looking like, yeah. Their win percentage is in like the trash column. They're reliably bad, which you don't want to see this combination. This is quite bad. Again, only 27 results, so your error term's going to be pretty big. But yeah, this is not good. Although they are placing fairly okay tournament-wise, so they're doing the work at tournaments. It's not a fun way of getting there. That would suggest to me that they typically lose, and typically not by a big margin, but occasionally table the opponent. So they're a proper like rock paper scissors faction. So they're very good against certain factions, but they're sort of mid against everybody else. So they struggle to win games, but when they do it fairly strongly. And then we've got these 3 factions that are all red. So Empire, Ogre, and Skaven. Lizardmen are down there as well, but I think that's because not a lot of people are taking Lizardmen at the moment. It is pretty difficult to write a good list for Lizardmen, to be honest. But anyway, yeah, Ogres and Skaven and Empire, like I keep saying, I just think that it's just that people haven't got there in terms of what makes a good list yet. But it's really nice to see some good results this week and for Empire. So, you know, I'm hopeful that they'll kind of make it up there. But yeah, Ogres and Skaven at the bottom here, doing really, really badly in general. You know, it's normal for a Skaven player. It's almost normal, sorry, for a Skaven and an Ogre player to win nothing at any tournament. We can filter and have a look at 5-game tournaments, so what you might call a grand tournament. There's really not enough results to draw any kind of firm conclusions, but like, you know, it's pretty similar in terms of the meta. So. We need to like compare that. This figure's getting a bit negative. So what that means is, can we really do parametric tests on this data? Because is it normally distributed? Now, as it stands, I'm not actually doing any parametric tests on this particular data set. I'm not, well, I suppose there's an average there, isn't there? There's an average win percentage, which is a parametric test, but yeah, you don't really care about that. I don't need to talk about stats. But yeah, so what else was I going to say? Yeah, like I said last time, I was going to work on making this a bit more user friendly to look at. I actually spent quite some time working out how to get the data off new recruits. So the time I was going to spend prettifying this and making the output a lot nicer, I haven't done. But we'll do at some point, so that it's easier to interpret this data, like what's normal. But yeah, if you got any comments, anything that you'd like to say, put it in the appropriate section below. If you've liked the video, there is a button for that. I'm going to be working on my... Oh, God. I'm going to be working on my Khemri this week, because I've got a game on Wednesday. Only 1,500 points, so I need to write a list for that. But then... have a game with the Khemri. So what I've started to do is my shed talks. I've started to do that live. I did one of those yesterday. That went pretty well, I think. It was just really nice, actually, because there was like 2 or 3 people commenting, and it was like I was like modelling stuff with other people and just talking nonsense. So it's a bit of a weird interaction, but yeah, I guess it's quite nice from my perspective. So I'll definitely be doing that again. I need to cut down the amount of time I do it, because like if I do like an hour's worth of modelling, it's de-stressing, but if I do 2 hours, it gets stressful for some reason. So I need to sort that out. But yeah, that's the data. That's where we're up to. If you've got this far in the video, I'd hope that you'd consider maybe subscribing. And I shall hopefully catch you around at the next one. So all I have to say now is toodle pip.